understand this. If it's involved then in all of the psychological problems, then my mind is overcome with my problems and intensified by the guilt I feel about myself. So when I come into church, not only do I have problems, but I'm guilty. My guilt is fighting my faith. So now I'm sitting here wanting to rejoice, but I feel like crying. Then I sit beside somebody who feels like I ought to be rejoicing, and now they're going to make me feel even more guilty for sitting here. Oh, I feel the Spirit of God here. I did not come to church for you to judge me. Since you have so much discernment, can't you discern that maybe I need somebody? Oh God, guilt. Guilt. You see, there's legal guilt, of course, and I know I broke the law and I went too fast and the police stopped me. That's legal guilt. There's social guilt, where it's not always written what the law is, but you break sometimes an unwritten rule. You talk about somebody on the phone and the person you're talking to has the other person listening. And they do that to you, and then of course you feel real bad because you said some things you wouldn't have said if you knew. You know how you do. And that's social guilt. And then there's personal guilt when you have made yourself some promises and you decided that I'm not going to get caught up in this circumstance again, and then you find yourself right back in it, and now you're not only sick of being in the circumstance, but now you're sick of yourself for having gotten back in the same thing you said you were trying to get out of. Oh God, so I violate my personal standards. Sometimes you can just get guilty for having dessert on your diet when you decided you weren't going to eat any more sweets after 12. And I'm guilty, and then so I'm always walking around in apprehension instead of anticipation. I'm just living a life full of guilt. And then I sneak into the church of God, and I wish I could talk to somebody who understands problems without judging individuals. That's why I came to the conference, because I hope somebody would preach a word here that would help to set me free. Oh God, I feel your presence in this house, because I'm going out of here with no baggage. Touch somebody, say, I'm getting ready to drop my baggage off. I'm getting ready to leave my issues right here, because I'm going on to see about this vision God has promised me, and I can't get forward looking backward. I got to preach this thing here. Oh God. And of course there's theological guilt, and according to what I understand, theological guilt is actually the only true guilt, because all this comes inside and it leaves me uncomfortable, ashamed, with an uncomfortable feeling of regret. Now I've got remorse, I've got shame, and I've got self-condemnation. I'm not only fighting Satan, but I'm fighting myself. And if I don't get some help inside, where I'm blocking the Spirit of God who wants to move through me and wash me of all of the mess that has accumulated in my mind. And so I need the Spirit of God to deal with the sting of inner guilt. this discouragement, this anxiety, this sense of isolation. Because now, instead of moving through with a sense of security that God is on my side, I am shrinking back now. My prayer life is coming to a close because I won't even speak to God because I don't deserve anything from God. So people are being blessed around me, and I think it's because they're living so good, and I must not be living too good because I'm not blessed. Let me tell you something. If God were to regard iniquity, nobody would be blessed. I wish somebody would help me here tonight. God does not bless you because of how good you are. God blesses you because of your faith in him. I feel the Spirit of God here. It's not how good you are, because your goodness is as filthy rags. You can't brag about how good you are because God knows the stuff you never talk about. I don't want to mess with you tonight, but you know and I know and God knows. God knows the inner things that you never bring out, the things that you have kept secret and made a hypocrite out of yourself because there are folks around you can't talk to and tell them you're struggling. I wish I had a church where I could walk in and folk forget what the newspaper says and forget what the cousins and neighbors say and walk right in and look at the preacher and holler, I need help. Do you have the power to deal with what I'm going through? Because I need somebody that knows how to pray for me. For instance, and I don't understand how people can look at other people and disqualify them because of their mistakes. Oh yes, that's why you can't testify where you're coming from and what you used to be, because people will look at you like you're still there. You better not tell anybody you used to be on the streets. And you know I used to be a drug pusher. Folk will look at you like, my. Well, look who I'm sitting beside this Sunday. Oh, God. And so you're sitting there trying to act like you don't understand that woman who just came in with a mesh dress with no slip. Oh God, you're about to die. You're about to lose your mind. Quit playing, come on. You know and God knows that you understand everywhere she's been. And if you would just tell the truth, you would bring her out of her state into a place. The ugliness of the mistake. When you look at the text then and you look at how ugly this thing is. Who did it? David. Well, who is David? Not a pimp. David is the psalmist. He is the man who has been enveloped in the arms of God. He has been raised in the power and the demonstration of God. He has been enjoying the beauty of being in God's presence. You've got to understand, this is a man that God anointed and a man who has had great victories with God. But you've got to remember this, that there is a yoke of conditioning that runs through the flesh of everybody sitting in this room. 95% of the time you can be on the job full of spiritual vigor and vitality, but there's 5% of that danger time when your mind begins to move in old places. Oh God, you can sit right here in the house of God with the Spirit of the Lord bouncing off the wall, and all of a sudden a thought, a sort of flashback runs across your mind. Then you think it for about 5 or 6 seconds, and then the Holy Ghost kicks in and catches the thought, and then you hit yourself on the head. Loose your hold.